I stop the elevator between floors while Tyler undoes his belt. When the elevator stops, the soup bowls stacked on the buffet cart stop rattling, and steam mushrooms up to the elevator ceiling as Tyler takes the lid off the soup tureen. Tyler starts to take himself out and says, "Don't look at me or I can't go." The soup's a sweet tomato bisque with cilantro and clams. Between the two, nobody will smell anything else we put in. I say, "Hurry up," and I look back over my shoulder at Tyler with his last half-inch hanging in the soup. This looks in a really funny way like a tall elephant in a waiter's white shirt and bow tie drinking soup through its little trunk. Tyler says, "I said don't look." The elevator door in front of me has a little face-sized window that lets me look out into the banquet service corridor. With the elevator stopped between floors, my view is about a cockroach above the green linoleum, and from here, at cockroach level, the green corridor stretches toward the vanishing point, past half-open doors where titans and their gigantic wives drink barrels of champagne and bellow at each other, wearing diamonds bigger than I feel. Last week, I tell Tyler, when the Empire State lawyers were here for their Christmas party, I got mine hard and stuck it in all their orange mousses. Last week, Tyler says, he stopped the elevator and farted on a whole cart of Boccone Dolce for the Junior League tea. That Tyler knows how a meringue will absorb odor. At cockroach level, we can hear the captive harpist make music as the titans lift forks of butterflied lamb chop, each bite the size of a whole pig, each mouth the tearing Stonehenge of ivory. I say, "Go already." Tyler says, "I can't. If the soup gets cold, they'll send it back." The giants, they'll send something back to the kitchen for no reason at all. They just want to see you run around for their money. At dinner like this, these banquet parties, they know the tip is already included in the bill, so they treat you like dirt. We don't really take anything back to the kitchen. Move the pomme parisienne and the asperges hollandaise around the plate a little, serve it to someone else, and all of a sudden it's fine. I say, Niagara Falls, the Nile River. In school, we all thought if you put somebody's hand in a bowl of warm water while they slept, they'd wet the bed. Tyler says, "Oh." Behind me, Tyler says, "Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm doing it. Oh, yeah, yes." Past half-open doors in the ballrooms off the service corridor swish gold and black and red skirts as tall as the gold velvet curtain at the old Broadway theater. Now and again there are pairs of Cadillac sedans in black leather with shoelaces where the windshield should be. Above the cars move a city of office towers in red cummerbunds. Not too much, I say. Tyler and me, we've turned into the guerrilla terrorists of the service industry. Dinner parties saboteurs. The hotel caters dinner parties, and when somebody wants the food, they get the food and the wine and the china and glassware and the waiters. They get the works, all on one bill. And because they know they can't threaten you with the tip, to them, you're just a cockroach. Tyler, he did a dinner party one time. This was when Tyler turned into a renegade waiter. That first dinner party, Tyler was serving the fish course in this white and glass cloud of a house that seemed to float over the city on steel legs attached to a hillside. Part of the way through the fish course, while Tyler's rinsing plates from the pasta course, the hostess comes in the kitchen holding a scrap of paper that flaps like a flag. Her hand is shaking so much. Through her clenched teeth, Madame wants to know, did the waiters see any of the guests go down the hallway that leads to the bedroom part of the house, especially any of the women guests, or the host. In the kitchen, it's Tyler and Albert and Len and Jerry rinsing and stacking the plates, and a prep cook, Leslie, basting garlic butter on the artichoke hearts stuffed with shrimp and escargot. "We're not supposed to go in that part of the house," Tyler says. We come in through the garage. All we're supposed to see is the garage, the kitchen, and the dining room. The host comes in behind his wife in the kitchen doorway and takes the scrap of paper out of her shaking hand. "This will be all right," he says. "How can I face those people," Madame says, "unless I know who did this?" The host puts a flat, open hand against the back of her silky white party dress that matches her house, and Madame straightens up, her shoulders squared, and is all of a sudden quiet. "They are your guests," he says, "and this party is very important." This looks in a really funny way like a ventriloquist bringing his dummy to life. Madame looks at her husband, and with a little shove, the host takes his wife back into the dining room. The note drops to the floor, and the two-way swish-swish of the kitchen door sweeps the note against Tyler's feet. Albert says, "What's it say?" Len goes out to start clearing the fish cores. Leslie slides the tray of artichoke hearts back into the oven and says, "What's it say already?" Tyler looks right at Leslie and says, without even picking up the note, "I have passed an amount of urine into at least one of your many elegant fragrances." Albert smiles. "You pissed in her perfume?" "No," Tyler says. "He just left the note stuck between the bottles. She's got about 100 bottles sitting on a mirror counter in her bathroom." Leslie smiles. "So you didn't really?" "No," Tyler says, "but she doesn't know that." The whole rest of the night in that white and glass dinner party in the sky, Tyler kept clearing plates of cold artichokes, then cold veal with cold pomme de chasse, then cold fleur à la polonaise from in front of the hostess, and Tyler kept filling her wine glass about a dozen times. Madame sat watching each of her women guests eat the food, until between clearing the sorbet dishes and serving the apricot gâteau, Madame's place at the head of the table was all of a sudden empty. They were washing up after the guests had left, loading the coolers and the china back into the hotel van, when the host came in the kitchen and asked would Albert please come help him with something heavy. Leslie says maybe Tyler went too far. Loud and fast, Tyler says how they kill whales, Tyler says, to make that perfume that costs more than gold per ounce. Most people have never seen a whale. Leslie has 2 kids in an apartment next to the freeway, and Madame Hostess has more bucks than we'll make in a year in bottles on her bathroom counter. Albert comes back from helping the host and dials 911 on the phone. Albert puts a hand over the mouth part and says, "Man, Tyler shouldn't have left that note." Tyler says, "So tell the banquet manager, get me fired. I'm not married to this chicken shit job." Everybody looks at their feet. "Getting fired," Tyler says, "is the best thing that could happen to any of us. That way we'd quit treading water and do something with our lives." Albert says into the phone that we need an ambulance and the address. Waiting on the line, Albert says the hostess is a real mess right now. Albert had to pick her up from next to the toilet. The host couldn't pick her up because Madame says he's the one who peed in her perfume bottles, and she says he's trying to drive her crazy by having an affair with one of the women guests tonight, and she's tired of all the people they call their friends. The host can't pick her up because Madame's fallen down behind the toilet in her white dress, and she's waving around half a broken perfume bottle. Madame says she'll cut his throat. He even tries to touch her. Tyler says, "Cool." And Albert stinks. Leslie says, "Albert, honey, you stink." "There's no way you could come out of that bathroom not stinking," Albert says. Every bottle of perfume is broken on the floor, and the toilet is piled full of the other bottles. "They look like ice," Albert says, "like at the fanciest hotel parties where we have to fill the urinals with crushed ice." The bathroom stinks, and the floor is gritty with slivers of ice that won't melt. And when Albert helps Madame to her feet, her white dress wet with yellow stains, Madame swings the broken bottle at the host, slips in the perfume and broken glass, and lands on her palms. She's crying and bleeding, curled against the toilet. "Oh, and it stings," she says. "Oh, Walter, it stings. It's stinging," Madame says. The perfume, all those dead whales and the cuts in her hands, it stings. The host pulls Madame to her feet against him, Madame holding her hands up as if she were praying, but with her hands an inch apart and blood running down the palms, down the wrists, across a diamond bracelet, and to her elbows where it drips. And the host, he says, "It'll be all right, Nina." "My hands, Walter," Madame says. "It will be all right." Madame says, "Who would do this to me? Who could hate me this much?" The host says to Albert, "Would you call an ambulance?" That was Tyler's first mission as a service industry terrorist. Guerrilla waiter. Minimum wage despoiler. Tyler's been doing this for years, but he says everything is more fun as a shared activity. At the end of Albert's story, Tyler smiles and says, "Cool." Back in the hotel right now, in the elevator stopped between the kitchen and the banquet floors, I tell Tyler how I sneezed on the trout in aspic for the dermatologist convention, and 3 people told me it was too salty, and 1 person said it was delicious. Tyler shakes himself off over the soup tureen and says he's run dry. This is easier with cold soup, vichyssoise, or when the chefs make a really fresh gazpacho. This is impossible with that onion soup that has a crust of melted cheese on it and ramekins. If I ever ate here, that's what I'd order. We were running out of ideas, Tyler and me. Doing stuff to the food got to be boring, almost part of the job description. Then I hear one of the doctors, lawyers, whatever, say how a hepatitis bug can live on stainless steel for 6 months. You have to wonder how long this bug can live on rum custard charlotte russe or salmon timbale. I asked the doctor where could we get our hands on some of these hepatitis bugs, and he's drunk enough to laugh. Everything goes to the medical waste dump, he says, and he laughs. Everything. The medical waste dump sounds like hitting bottom. One hand on the elevator control, I ask Tyler if he's ready. The scar on the back of my hand is swollen red and glossy as a pair of lips in the exact shape of Tyler's kiss. 1 second, Tyler says. The tomato soup must still be hot because the crooked thing Tyler tucks back in his pants is boiled pink as a jumbo prawn. In South America, land of enchantment, we could be wading in a river where tiny fish will swim up Tyler's urethra. The fish have barbed spines that flare out and back, so once they're up Tyler, the fish set up housekeeping and get ready to lay their eggs. In so many ways, how we spent Saturday night could be worse. Could have been worse, Tyler says, what we did with Marla's mother. I say, shut up. Tyler says the French government could have taken us to an underground complex outside of Paris where not even surgeons but semi-skilled technicians would razor our eyelids off as part of toxicity testing and aerosol tanning spray. This stuff happens, Tyler says. Read the newspaper. What's worse is I knew what Tyler had been up to with Marla's mother, but for the first time since I've known him, Tyler had some real play money. Tyler was making real bucks. Nordstrom's called and left an order for 200 bars of Tyler's brown sugar facial soap before Christmas. At $20 a bar suggested retail price, we had money to go out on Saturday night. Money to fix the leak in the gas line, go dancing. Without money to worry about, maybe I could quit my job. Tyler calls himself the Paper Street Soap Company. People are saying it's the best soap ever. What would have been worse, Tyler says, is if you had accidentally eaten Marla's mother. Through a mouthful of kung pao chicken, I say to just shut the hell up. Where we are this Saturday night is the front seat of a 1968 Impala sitting on 2 flats in the front row of a used car lot. Tyler and me were talking, drinking beer out of cans, and the front seat of this Impala is bigger than most people's sofas. The car lots up and down this part of the boulevard, in the industry they call these lots the pot lots, where the cars all cost around $200, and during the day, the gypsy guys who run these lots stand around in their plywood offices smoking long, thin cigars. The cars are the beater first cars kids drive in high school. Gremlins and Pacers, Mavericks and Hornets, Pintos, International Harvester pickup trucks, lowered Camaros and Dusters and Impalas. Cars that people loved and then dumped. Animals at the pound. Bridesmaid dresses at the Goodwill. With dents in gray or red or black primer quarter panels and rocker panels and lumps of body putty that nobody ever got around to sanding. Plastic wood and plastic leather and plastic chrome interiors. At night, the gypsy guys don't even lock the car doors. The headlights on the boulevard go by behind the price painted on the Impala Big wraparound cinemascope windshield. See the USA. The price is $98. From the inside, this looks like 89 cents. 00.89. America is asking you to call. Most of the cars here are about $100, and all the cars have an as-is sales agreement hanging in the driver's window. We chose the Impala because if we have to sleep in a car on Saturday night, this car has the biggest seats. We're eating Chinese because we can't go home. It was either sleep here or stay up all night at an after-hours dance club. We don't go to dance clubs. Tyler says the music is so loud, especially the bass tracks, that it screws with his biorhythm. The last time we went out, Tyler said, the loud music made him constipated. This and the club is too loud to talk, so after a couple of drinks, everyone feels like the center of attention, but completely cut off from participating with anyone else. You're the corpse in an English murder mystery. We're sleeping in a car tonight because Marla came to the house and threatened to call the police and have me arrested for cooking her mother. And then Marla slammed around the house screaming that I was a ghoul and a cannibal, and she went kicking through the piles of Reader's Digest and National Geographic, and then I left her there, in a nutshell. After her accidental-on-purpose suicide with Xanax at the Regent Hotel, I can't imagine Marla calling the police, but Tyler thought it would be good to sleep out tonight, just in case. Just in case Marla burns the house down. Just in case Marla goes out and finds a gun. Just in case Marla is still in the house. Just in case. I try to get centered. Watching white moon face, the stars never feel anger. Blah, 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 the end. Here, with the cars going by on the boulevard and a beer in my hand, in the Impala with its cold, hard, Bakelite steering wheel maybe 3 feet in diameter, and the cracked vinyl seat pinching my ass through my jeans, Tyler says, "One more time. Tell me exactly what happened." For weeks, I ignored what Tyler had been up to. One time, I went with Tyler to the Western Union office and watched as he sent Marla's mother a telegram. "Hideously wrinkled, stop. Please help me, end." Tyler had showed the clerk Marla's library card and signed Marla's name to the telegram order and yelled, "Yes, Marla can be a guy's name sometimes, and the clerk could just mind his own business." When we were leaving the Western Union, Tyler said if I loved him, I'd trust him. This wasn't something I needed to know about, Tyler told me, and he took me to Garbanzo's for hummus. What really scared me wasn't the telegram as much as it was eating out with Tyler. Never had Tyler ever paid cash for anything. For clothes, Tyler goes to gyms and hotels and claims clothing out of the lost and found. This is better than Marla, who goes to laundromats to steal jeans out of the dryers and sell them at $12 a pair to those places that buy used jeans. Tyler never ate in restaurants, and Marla wasn't wrinkled. For no apparent reason, Tyler sent Marla's mother a 15-pound box of chocolates. Another way this Saturday night could be worse, Tyler tells me in the Impala, is the brown recluse spider. When it bites you, it injects not just a venom, but a digestive enzyme or acid that dissolves the tissue around the bite, literally melting your arm or your leg or your face. Tyler was hiding out tonight when this all started. Marla showed up at the house. Without even knocking, Marla leans inside the front door and shouts, "Knock, knock." I'm reading Reader's Digest in the kitchen. I am totally nonplussed. Marla yells, "Tyler, can I come in? Are you home?" I yell, "Tyler's not home." Marla yells, "Don't be mean." By now, I'm at the front door. Marla's standing in the foyer with the Federal Express overnight package and says, "I needed to put something in your freezer." I dog her heels on the way to the kitchen saying, "No, no, no, no. She is not going to start keeping her junk in this house." "But Pumpkin," Marla says, "I don't have a freezer at the hotel, and you said I could." "No, I did not. The last thing I want is Marla moving in one piece of crap at a time." Marla has her Federal Express package ripped open on the kitchen table, and she lifts something white out of the styrofoam packing peanuts and shakes this white thing in my face. "This is not crap," she says. "This is my mother you're talking about, so just fuck off." What Marla lifts out of the package, it's one of those sandwich bags of white stuff that Tyler rendered for tallow to make soap. "Things could have been worse," Tyler says, "if you'd accidentally eaten what was in one of those sandwich bags. If you'd got up in the middle of the night sometime and squeezed out the white goo and added California onion soup mix and eaten it as a dip with potato chips or broccoli." More than anything in the world right then, when Marla and I were standing in the kitchen, I didn't want Marla to open the freezer. I asked what was she going to do with the white stuff. "Paris lips," Marla said. "As you get older, your lips pull inside your mouth. I'm saving for a collagen lip injection. I have almost 30 pounds of collagen in your freezer." I asked how big of lips did she want. Marla said it was the operation itself that scared her. The stuff in the Federal Express package, I tell Tyler in the Impala, that was the same stuff we made soap out of. Ever since silicone turned out to be dangerous, collagen has become the hot item to have injected to smooth out wrinkles or to puff up thin lips or weak chins. The way Marla had explained it, most collagen you get cheap is from cow fat that's been sterilized and processed, but that kind of cheap collagen doesn't last very long in your body. Wherever you get it injected, say in your lips, your body rejects it and starts to poop it out. 6 months later, you have thin lips again. The best kind of collagen, Marla said, is your own fat, sucked out of your thighs, processed and cleaned and injected back into your lips, or wherever. This kind of collagen will last. This stuff in the fridge at home, it was Marla's collagen trust fund. Whenever her mom grew any extra fat, she had it sucked out and packaged. Marla says the process is called gleaning. If Marla's mom doesn't need the collagen herself, she sends the packets to Marla. Marla never has any fat of her own, and her mom figures that familial collagen would be better than Marla ever having to use the cheap cow kind. Street light along the boulevard comes through the sales agreement in the window and prints "as is" on Tyler's cheek. Spiders, Tyler says, could lay their eggs and larvae could tunnel under your skin. That's how bad your life can get. Right now, my almond chicken in its warm, creamy sauce tastes like something sucked out of Marla's mother's thighs. It was right then, standing in the kitchen with Marla, that I knew what Tyler had done. Hideously wrinkled. And I knew why he sent candy to Marla's mother. Please help. I say, Marla, you don't want to look in the freezer. Marla says, do what? We never eat red meat, Tyler tells me in the Impala, and he can't use chicken fat or the soap won't harden into a bar. The stuff, Tyler says, is making us a fortune. We paid the rent with that collagen. I say, you should have told Marla. Now she thinks I did it. Saponification, Tyler says, is the chemical reaction you need to make good soap. Chicken fat won't work or any fat with too much salt. Listen, Tyler says, we have a big order to fill. What we'll do is send Marla's mom some chocolates and probably some fruitcakes. I don't think that will work anymore. Long story short, Marla looked in the freezer. Okay, there was a little scuffle first. I try to stop her, and the bag she's holding gets dropped and breaks open on the linoleum, and we both slip in the greasy white mess and come up gagging. I have Marla around the waist from behind, her black hair whipping my face, her arms pinned to her sides, and I'm saying over and over, it wasn't me, I didn't do it. My mother, you're spilling her all over. We needed to make soap, I say with my face pressed up behind her ear. We needed to wash my pants, to pay the rent, to fix the leak in the gas line. It wasn't me, it was Tyler. Marla screams, what are you talking about? And twists out of her skirt. I'm scrambling to get off the greased floor with an armful of Marla's India cotton print skirt, and Marla, in her panties and wedgie heels and peasant blouse, throws open the freezer part of the fridge, and inside there's no collagen trust fund. There's 2 old flashlight batteries, but that's all. Where is she? I'm already crawling backwards, my hands slipping, my shoes slipping on the linoleum, and my ass wiping a clean path across the dirty floor away from Marla and the fridge. I hold up the skirt so I don't have to see Marla's face when I tell her the truth. We made soap out of it. Her, Marla's mother. Soap? Soap. You boil fat. You mix it with lye. You get soap. When Marla screams, I throw the skirt in her face and run. I slip. I run. Around and around the first floor, Marla runs after me, skidding on the corners, pushing off against the window casings for momentum, slipping, leaving filthy handprints of grease and floor dirt among the wallpaper flowers. Falling and sliding into the wainscoting, getting back up, running. Marla screaming, you boiled my mother? Tyler boiled her mother. Marla screaming, always one swipe of her fingernails behind me. Tyler boiled her mother. You boiled my mother. The front door was still open, and then I was out the front door with Marla screaming in the doorway behind me. My feet didn't slip against the concrete sidewalk, and I just kept running. Until I found Tyler, or until Tyler found me, and I told him what happened. With 1 beer each, Tyler and I spread out on the front and back seats, with me in the front seat. Even now, Marla's probably still in the house, throwing magazines against the walls and screaming how I'm a prick and a monster, two-faced, capitalist, suck-ass bastard. The miles of night between Marla and me offer insects and melanomas and flesh-eating viruses. Where I'm at isn't so bad. When a man is hit by lightning, Tyler says, his head burns down to a smoldering baseball and his zipper welds itself shut. I say, did we hit bottom tonight? Tyler lies back and asks, if Marilyn Monroe was alive right now, what would she be doing? I say good night. The headliner hangs down in shreds from the ceiling, and Tyler says, clawing at the lid of her coffin. My boss stands too close to my desk with his little smile, his lips together and stretched thin, his crotch at my elbow. I look up from writing the cover letter for a recall campaign. These letters always begin the same way. This notice is sent to you in accordance with the requirements of the National Motor Vehicle Safety Act. We have determined that a defect exists. This week I ran the liability formula, and for once, A times B times C equaled more than the cost of a recall. This week, it's the little plastic clip that holds the rubber blade on your windshield wipers. A throwaway item. Only 200 vehicles affected, next to nothing for the labor cost. Last week was more typical. Last week, the issue was some leather cured with a known teratogenic substance, synthetic nirette, or something just as illegal that's still used in third world tanning. Something so strong that it could cause birth defects in the fetus of any pregnant woman who comes across it. Last week, nobody called the Department of Transportation. Nobody initiated a recall. New leather multiplied by labor cost multiplied by administration cost would equal more than our first quarter profits. If anyone ever discovers our mistake, we can still pay off a lot of grieving families before we come close to the cost of retrofitting 6,500 leather interiors. But this week we're doing a recall campaign. And this week, the insomnia is back. Insomnia. And now the whole world figures to stop by and take a dump on my grave. My boss is wearing his gray tie, so today must be a Tuesday. My boss brings a sheet of paper to my desk and asks if I'm looking for something. This paper was left in the copy machine, he says, and begins to read. The first rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. His eyes go side to side across the paper, and he giggles. The second rule of Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. I hear Tyler's words come out of my boss, Mr. Boss, with his midlife spread and family photo on his desk, and his dreams about early retirement and winters spent at a trailer park hookup in some Arizona desert. My boss, with his extra starch shirts and standing appointment for a haircut every Tuesday after lunch, he looks at me and he says, "I hope this isn't yours." I am Joe's blood-boiling rage. Tyler asked me to type up the Fight Club rules and make him 10 copies. Not 9, not 11, Tyler says 10. Still, I have the insomnia and can't remember sleeping since 3 nights ago. This must be the original I typed. I made 10 copies and forgot the original. The paparazzi flash of the copy machine in my face. The insomnia distance of everything, a copy of a copy of a copy. You can't touch anything and nothing can touch you. My boss reads, "The third rule of Fight Club is 2 men per fight." Neither of us blinks. My boss reads, "1 fight at a time." I haven't slept in 3 days unless I'm sleeping now. My boss shakes the paper under my nose. "What about it?" he says. "Is this some little game I'm playing on company time? I'm paid for my full attention, not to waste time with little war games. And I'm not paid to abuse the copy machines. What about it?" He shakes the paper under my nose. "What do I think?" he asks. "What should he do with an employee who spends company time in some little fantasy world? If I was in his shoes, what would I do?" What would I do? The hole in my cheek, the blue-black swelling around my eyes, and the swollen red scar of Tyler's kiss on the back of my hand. A copy of a copy of a copy. Speculation. Why does Tyler want 10 copies of the Fight Club rules? Hindu cow. What I would do, I say, is I'd be very careful who I talk to about this paper. I say it sounds like some dangerous psychotic killer wrote this. And this button-down schizophrenic could probably go over the edge at any moment in the working day and stalk from office to office with an Armalite AR-180 carbine gas-operated semi-automatic. My boss just looks at me. The guy, I say, is probably at home every night with a little rat-tail file, filing a cross into the tip of every one of his rounds. This way, when he shows up to work one morning and pumps around into his nagging, ineffectual, petty, whining, butt-sucking, candy-ass boss, that one round will split along the filed grooves and spread open the way a dum-dum bullet flowers inside you to blow a bushel load of your stinking guts out through your spine. Picture your gut chakra opening in a slow-motion explosion of sausage casing small intestine. My boss takes the paper out from under my nose. Go ahead, I say, read some more. No, really, I say, it sounds fascinating. The work of a totally diseased mind. And I smile. The little butthole-looking edges of the hole in my cheek are the same blue-black as the dog's gums. The skin stretched tight across the swelling around my eyes feels varnished. My boss just looks at me. Let me help you, I say. I say, the fourth rule of Fight Club is one fight at a time. My boss looks at the rules and then looks at me. I say, the fifth rule is no shoes, no shirts in the fight. My boss looks at the rules and looks at me. Maybe, I say, this totally diseased fuck would use an Eagle Apache carbine because an Apache takes a 30-shot mag and only weighs 9 pounds. The Armalite only takes a 5-round magazine. With 30 shots, our totally fucked hero could go the length of Mahogany Row and take out every vice president with a cartridge left over for each director. Tyler's words coming out of my mouth. I used to be such a nice person. I just look at my boss. My boss has blue, pale cornflower blue eyes. The J&R 68 semi-automatic carbine also takes a 30-shot mag, and it only weighs 7 pounds. My boss just looks at me. It's scary, I say. This is probably somebody he's known for years. Probably this guy knows all about him, where he lives and where his wife works and his kids go to school. This is exhausting, and all of a sudden very, very boring. And why does Tyler need 10 copies of the Fight Club rules? What I don't have to say is I know about the leather interiors that cause birth defects. I know about the counterfeit brake linings that looked good enough to pass the purchasing agent but fail after 2,000 miles. I know about the air conditioning rheostat that gets so hot it sets fire to the maps in your glove compartment. I know how many people burn alive because of fuel injector flashback. I've seen people's legs cut off at the knee when turbochargers start exploding and send their veins through the firewall and into the passenger compartment. I've been out in the field and seen the burned-up cars and seen the reports where cause of failure is recorded as unknown. No, I say, the paper's not mine. I take the paper between 2 fingers and jerk it out of his hand. The edge must slice his thumb because his hand flies to his mouth and he's sucking hard, eyes wide open. I crumble the paper into a ball and toss it into the trash can next to my desk. Maybe, I say, you shouldn't be bringing me every little piece of trash you pick up. Sunday night, I go to Remaining Men Together, and the basement of Trinity Episcopal is almost empty. Just Big Bob. And I come dragging in with every muscle bruised inside and out, but my heart's still racing and my thoughts are a tornado in my head. This is insomnia. All night, your thoughts are on the air. All night long, you're thinking, am I asleep? Have I slept? Insult to injury, Big Bob's arms come out of his t-shirt sleeves, quilted with muscle and so hard they shine. Big Bob smiles. He's so happy to see me. He thought I was dead. Yeah, I say, me too. Well, Big Bob says, I've got good news. Where is everybody? That's the good news, Big Bob says. The group's disbanded. I only come down here to tell any guys who might show up. I collapse, with my eyes closed on one of the plaid thrift store couches. The good news, Big Bob says, is there's a new group, but the first rule about this new group is you aren't supposed to talk about it. Oh? Big Bob says, and the second rule is you're not supposed to talk about it. Oh, shit. I open my eyes. Fuck. The group's called Fight Club, Big Bob says, and it meets every Friday night in a closed garage across town. On Thursday night, there's another Fight Club that meets at a garage closer by. I don't know either of these places. The first rule about Fight Club, Big Bob says, is you don't talk about Fight Club. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday night, Tyler is a movie projectionist. I saw his pay stub last week. The second rule about Fight Club, Big Bob says, is you don't talk about Fight Club. Saturday night, Tyler goes to Fight Club with me. Only 2 men per fight. Sunday morning, we come home beat up and sleep all afternoon. Only 1 fight at a time, Big Bob says. Sunday and Monday night, Tyler's waiting tables. You fight without shirts or shoes. Tuesday night, Tyler's at home making soap, wrapping it in tissue paper, shipping it out. The Paper Street Soap Company. The fights, Big Bob says, go on as long as they have to. Those are the rules invented by the guy who invented Fight Club. Big Bob asks, do you know him? I've never seen him myself, Big Bob says, but the guy's name is Tyler Durden. The Paper Street Soap Company. Do I know him? I don't know, I say. Maybe.